So in the non-dual spheres, you learn from people like teachers like Angelo Dilullo, or maybe Adyashanti, although I don't know if he talks about purpose, or from name any non-dual speaker. I love these teachers very deeply. They've helped me tremendously. I'm very grateful for them. However, I think the missing link for particularly young men, probably men aged anywhere from 17 to 35, maybe more, is that for me at least, there was subliminally communicated that purpose, having a life purpose, having a mission, having something that we're here to give to the world, almost like a thought-based construct, a solid mission that we say, this is what I'm here to do. That is sort of not demonized, but communicated as a false construct, which solidifies a sense of self and therefore reifies suffering if we believe it to be true. If I believe that I have a life purpose, then I am distancing myself from no self-realization, from having a first awakening, because I'm reifying thoughts, narratives, and stories about myself, and therefore reinforcing my own suffering and shooting myself in the foot. And this is also backed up by maybe a sense of helplessness, restlessness. Part of us knows that we're sort of like distancing ourselves from life by meditating in our rooms and carrying these profound wisdom teachings into daily life, perhaps with a 9-to-5 job or something like that. We're engaging with the world, and we're earnestly trying to practice these teachings that people like Angelo Dilullo will point out. There is no purpose. There's only what's here right now. Seeing, feeling, smelling, tasting, touching. Just this. So then we might have a thought and we might have a sense of restlessness that says, well, okay, I know that's true, but why do I feel so meaningless in life? Why do I feel like I'm still suffering so much? And then we recognize, okay, that's just another thought. And we put our attention back into our pain body, maybe into the helplessness. Then maybe if we're quite astute at this, we might even drop the labels of this is pain, this is restlessness, this is helplessness. And then we re-engage with the flow of life. And then we have another thought, another subtle thought, but surely I need to be doing more. And then, no, we bring our attention back into the body, but something still feels off. Now, you could argue that what I'm about to say is just another thought. And it could be. But I think once we recognize the fundamental spell of mind identification, once that's been broken to a degree, we don't push away thoughts. We don't neglect thoughts. As my teacher, or as one of my facilitators said to me recently, we can be awakened, but we can still have a mission. We can still have a purpose. I think what's important though is we source that. We source our mission and our purpose through wisdom and understanding that we are awareness. And if you've awakened more deeply beyond that, you may not even use that label as awareness. You may just appreciate through energetic understanding that you are not your thoughts, you are not your narratives, you are not your mission. Where we go wrong, especially speaking from experience as a young man, where we go wrong as men is we take these teachings from people like Angelo Dilullo, Adyashanti, and we say, okay, there's no purpose, there's no mission, that's just a thought. So I'm not going to play that game. I'm not going to play the relative world game. I'm going to go beyond that, and I'm going to transcend that. Screw these other people, these other speakers and spiritual new age, spiritual people saying that they need to find their purpose. I'm going to go beyond that. Carries with it a subtle sense of superiority, right? Okay. Fair enough, I get that. Like, I've been there too. As I said though, we can still have a purpose and a mission despite insight. The difficult thing is when we lie to ourselves in a subtle way by putting a blanket of profound wisdom on top of our pain, on top of our helplessness that is scared to engage with the world. It's terrified of intimacy. It's terrified of getting a job, working a 9-to-5. It's terrified of mending the relationship with parents, with brothers, with siblings. It's terrified of leaving its comfort zone. So instead what it does is it meditates and stays in the comfort zone. And for me, you know, I've been traveling for the past 4 months through Thailand, Vietnam, India, and now I'm in Pokhara, Nepal. And engaging that sense that there is no purpose was really what I set out to do in this mission, is to go out and to live spontaneously, to live non-conceptually, you know, without neglecting planning, and to fully engage with the sense domain, as many of the non-dual pointers are. Just be with sensation and then relax into the unknowing simultaneously so that they interpenetrate these sensations, and just engage with the world through God, basically. And what I've discovered through that is that, yeah, if we're to use a term, it's a very feminine energy. It's very, very spontaneous. And that's wonderful. And it takes courage to do that, I think. It takes a willingness to feel shame full on. However, in the process, what I learned through experience is that when we do that, we also sometimes might reject the masculine aspect. The masculine aspect uses thoughts, uses concepts like purpose, to create meaning out of the world. When we go hardcore into the feminine, we use that as an orientation through perhaps a non-dual speaker, we might then neglect the masculine aspect, which is what I did. But through recognizing the fundamental nature of our being, through self-inquiry, through asking questions like, who am I? And abiding as awareness, you start to see the emptiness of both. And they're contained within the understanding that they're both empty. That it's all you, so why should we neglect anything? So even thoughts such as, my purpose is this, my purpose is to engage in life in this way. My deepest truth and my deepest gift to give to the world is that, insert your gift. We might neglect that out of this over leaning on the feminine quality of disregarding thoughts, de-identifying from thought. That's another thought. De-identifying from concepts like purpose. But if we feel into the body and we feel the pain of that, maybe you can feel there might be a fixation there. There might be a sense of, I'm actually hiding from something. So I want to acknowledge that while purpose is indeed a concept, we don't have to push it away. We don't have to push anything away. So if you're suffering, if you're really trying to take on these non-dual pointings, if you're especially a young man, and you don't know why, you just want to get out of suffering. I know what that feels like. You want to meditate. You want to keep meditating and implying things like what Angelo talks about. You want to have that first shift in identity. You go to retreats, you sit for hours, yet your pain body is still very active. It's very traumatized. And you just want relief. And you hear things like this, like I've been talking about, like disregard all thoughts. There is no such thing as purpose. And you think that's the answer. I think the answer, through direct experience of somebody who's been going through that, is to not neglect anything. And to do that, to find out what you are neglecting, you can just sit in presence. Like, dedicate yourself. The temptation will be to sit in meditation and then just to go back to your familiar routine of something like self-inquiry, of vipassana, of neglecting thought. But maybe if this resonates, you can sit in meditation maybe for multiple rounds for 1 week, right? Like, what's 1 week for the rest of your life? And sit and actively engage this masculine quality. Let your mind still, calm down, relax into its source, beyond thought. And then drop the question into that pond, into that lake of consciousness. Open your consciousness aperture up by relaxing attention. Don't neglect thoughts. Welcome everything into that lake, energetically, grabbing, harvesting all of the source points that may aid in your inquiry. Thoughts, emotions, but keeping your attention in that fundamental ground of being, of consciousness, of awareness. You can even drop the label ground of being, just energetically knowing who and what you are without rejecting anything in experience. And devotionally ask a question, lovingly ask a question, like you really want to know. Devotionally to God, putting all of your shit out of the way, meeting yourself exactly where you're at, and asking, what is my deepest purpose? What is my contribution to this world? What am I hiding from? What am I too scared to face that I am using non-dual teachings to hide behind? And listen to that. Just listen. Don't think. Don't reject the thoughts, but abiding is consciousness. Just listen from that place. Just listen quietly. You may not get an answer. It may take you a week to get an answer. But trust yourself. Don't trust these non-dual teachers to tell you what you're hiding from. Trust your deepest instinct to answer these questions. So in this way, you're not rejecting the masculine aspect of consciousness, thoughts, concepts like purpose, but you're also not rejecting the feminine aspect as well. You're listening to your emotion body, you're listening to thoughts, but you're knowing who and what you are at the deepest level, and you can drop any label to answer these questions. It may be that your purpose, what you discover if you choose to use such an inquiry, you can inquire into anything in that way, by the way, and I think that's the best way to engage our deepest truth, is to just calm down, find space, meditate on things like for relationships, big decisions in life, purpose. That's like praying into God, while still holding the mystery and the illusory nature of it all, so that we don't get so wrapped up in it, right? So that's why we keep consciousness as primary. That's a really good way to meditate into it, into what you want, what you need. Maybe I'll do a video on that too, even though I just sort of talked a lot about it, but maybe there's some more subtleties. Let me know in the comments if you want a video on that sort of thing. But it may be that your purpose is illusory. But because, again, we're not neglecting anything, at an embodied level that it's sort of illusory. So you're not getting so swept up in this narrative of needing to be somebody, of like, this is what defines you as a person. No, it doesn't. It's just a mirage that we're using to engage with the world. Because we have to play the game. We have to eat. We have to work. We can't just meditate all of our lives and use our trauma to justify our inactivity in the world. We have to engage. We have to be strong. So it may be that that our purpose is not really what we're seeking fundamentally. It may be it is a mirage. But the more that we then engage with that experientially, like let's say my purpose is to volunteer in Africa and build wells, is what you discover. that may not be the most fundamental core thing that will end suffering completely in your life. Let's be like, maybe it won't. However, you're engaging your building of trust toward your deepest instinct, though, by asking questions through consciousness and holding this mirage, this story, that, okay, my purpose is to build wells in Africa. That may not be the ultimate truth of life, right? But isn't it a relief to trust yourself, to not hide from anything, rather than trying to apply these teachings at a deep level without actually experientially and deeply within your heart, body and soul align fully to them? Because you know deep down, if you're being really brutally honest with yourself, that you're sort of hiding from something. So even if that purpose is bullshit, it's not bullshit for you. It's still a mirage. But as you engage in the world fully, as you then go and build those wells, as you then still engage through knowing who and what you are and leaning on your edge in life, not shying away from fear, but not overstretching so that you overwhelm yourself so that you can't even metabolize the experience. Then you might do that for 5 years and then you realize that, oh, well, that didn't really make me happy. And that metabolizes that purpose, right? So then at a more embodied level, which is key, embodied and integrated level, you know that that wasn't fulfilling. Or maybe your purpose is like you've adopted this spiritual persona for so long, this spiritual quest. Maybe your purpose is like, man, I just want to experience the life. I just want to have sex with women. I just want to take drugs. I just want to learn a martial art. Okay, maybe be careful with these things, but at the end of the day, it's your life, and it's your deepest wisdom and instinct. See, a lot of the time we probably hide from things like, sex, drugs. Maybe we've suppressed those parts of ourselves because we were scared of them at the time. We were too scared to engage. And we thought we read in spiritual books like, don't do that or something. So we adopted this belief that I shouldn't be having sex with people, right? Or, and maybe that is true for you. But if we can use spiritual concepts to hide from what our heart actually yearns for, out of desperation for suffering, because we're suffering a lot. So that's my invitation, is to not neglect any of it. And if you're feeling lost in life, if I were to summarize this video, don't neglect the masculine aspect. Don't neglect the feminine aspect. Know who you are at a deeper level by continuing to inquire. And get honest with yourself through deep prayer and contemplation. Am I hiding from something? What is my deepest purpose in life? How can I show up in the relative world and open my heart fearlessly? Which is, and again, is a whole nother topic which I can speak on a lot. Leaning into your edge to engage in the world. Let me know if you want a video on that too. So that's two things. That's a lot I've talked about here. And yeah, just see where that takes you. See if it feels deep down in your heart, if you can move beyond the pursuit of awakening for one meditation sitting or something like that. And just see where those sorts of inquiries will take you. Maybe they'll activate something in you that's been deeply repressed and you didn't even know it. So what is my deepest purpose? What am I here to do? What am I here to do? What am I hiding from in life? And devotionally committing yourself to those questions. And just exploring your deepest heart and trusting yourself where that will take you. Alright, hope that helps in some way. These are all explorations I've been feeling into, and they've been very profitable, so yeah. A lot of love to you. Let me know if this helps you, and have a great day. Goodbye. From Pokhara, Nepal.